Hi everybody, Rusty Blackwood here. It's August 10th, 2019. It's a very windy August late afternoon. It is almost 5:30 in the afternoon, but I thought that I would come out and talk a little bit. I have my umbrella positioned to hopefully keep the sun back, because if the sun comes against it, it just all of a sudden you'd see white out, and I would probably be totally gone or washed out to the point where all you could see would be maybe the pupils of my eyes. Um, but as I say, it's a late August afternoon. It's Saturday, and very breezy on the patio today. And you may at times hear the cicada bugs. Um, Typical August sound. It really and truly is. And at times, when they really get going, they just reach fever pitch with their they they hit their crescendo, and I would love to see just how fast their legs and their wings are going to be able to create that sound. Um, it's just fascinating, nature in all its different forms. I've always been very attuned to nature. I'm a child of nature, and born in the fall of the year when everything, was at its finish, really, October 5th. Colors are starting to come on the trees, some trees further than others with color. But by that time, the air is always crisp and clean and no more humidity. And there's I don't think you can hear it, but with just a bit of faint sound of the cicadas just starting. And maybe they're warming up for a big symphony. I don't know. But anyway, I'm just looking around at my gardens and um, the yard. It is really starting to take on a tired look, as it always does when August rolls around. Um, I mean, things are still nice and green, um, but there's just a look. Maybe it's only me that sees it. I don't know, but I'm sure other people see it too. That it's just a look that August brings with foliage and, of course, the crops. Um, they are ripening to be ready to be harvested off. Um, and I hope this year is a good harvest especially for the farmers, because we had so much rain in the spring. It was just continuous rain. And now with the way the heat has gone on and on and on, rain was badly needed and it wasn't coming. But for us here in Niagara, the last couple of days, we've had storms, we've had storm fronts go through, and it brought nice rains, nice gentle rains, not those hard pounding things that just hit the rock hard ground and then run off. It really was a nice rain that could soak in and beneficial, that would actually do something. And so that was very welcomed, and it was good to see that come, because it gives things that boost now that it needs to go on to its actual finish. And so I was very fortunate yesterday. It was unexpected, but I had my great-grandson Patrick come by to spend pretty much the day from about 10 o'clock to about 3:30 or 4 with me and my youngest granddaughter Sarah and my middle granddaughter Elizabeth. And it was really nice. He had a wonderful time. He's 3 years old, and he's just full of energy. I mean, I don't know what I would give to even have a quarter of the amount of energy that kid has got. But he's such a delight. Um, for me to look at him and to realize he is my great-grandson. Um, it's a wonderful feeling. It does not make me feel as though I'm getting on in years at all. If anything, it's revitalizing. It's seeing that, like, I'm alive in this little fella, and my son is alive in him. And as I talked about in another video, my parents and my grandparents and my first husband Louis, um, he is alive in Patrick, his parents, his grandparents, and so on. And it's fantastic. It really and truly is. And but I enjoyed every second that he was here. I was tired, to say the least, last night, but it was a good tired, like like the tired that you can get when you just, I don't know, you're happy, you're contented, you're not stressed, and it's just knowing that you had a good day, and and you can now, just lay down and chill out and enjoy the evening. And so I really don't know just what I wanted to talk about when I sat down here, just sort of talking. I've been wanting to do some of these videos where they're very they're not designed. They're not, which I mean they're not scripted. There's no set. There's no lighting, or shade, if there's a bit of shade or whatever. Um, it's impromptu. It's just being me, um, and sitting here and talking to this lens of this camera, and talking really about whatever's coming to my mind. Um, I wasn't going to talk about books today, which for me, I mean, books are, well, they're my life anymore. They take up a tremendous amount of my time. Um, I'm doing a little bit of revision right now on the follow-up to The Perils of Autumn. It's called Return to Autumn. Picks up where The Perils of Autumn leaves off. Um, I wanted to continue the story, but I didn't want to do it in one book again. Otherwise, it would have turned into another grand scale novel like Passions in Paris, Revelations of a Lost Diary ended up doing. Um, I mean, I wanted to do that story in one book, and I knew that it was going to be a big book. I really didn't plan on the amount of page count that it ended up being at 118 pages, and it's heavy to hold it, and so of course that can that can put a lot of people, some readers, it can put them off, and so live and learn. And this is the way it is when you are an independent author and you self-publish your work. That's You live and learn because you don't have anybody to lead you. You don't have an agent. You don't have somebody to tell you the pitfalls. You just find them out as you go along, and you fall into a few and you learn from them, hopefully, and you get up and brush yourself off and you travel on to the next. And this is what I've done from day one, really, since I first started. I became a serious writer in 2001. That's when I started writing Passion in Paris. And 10 years later, it came out. But then I wasn't satisfied with the way it came out because it came out in two parts, and it was just the company that I published it through. Not there again, not having anybody to lead me, not anybody to talk to about what should I do, and you're on your own. And I made a lot of mistakes, and it cost me a lot, I think, in exposure, and it cost me a lot in monetary ways, but I learned from it. And so I was still determined to put that story out the way I envisioned it and I had wrote it. And, um, and this was the basis behind doing it in one novel that turned into the grand scale novel. Um, it combined the original two parts, and I totally revised it. There's some of the original that I left in, but a lot I just totally revised, wrote completely new. Um, it had been a while since I had done it in the two parts, so I could step back and look at it and realize, well, I see this differently or I feel this differently, and I think that I could do it differently. So this is what I did, and uh, and I published my very first publication, which was my first collection of contemporary and traditional poetry, and it was called Feelings, a Rhythmic Journey Through Thought. And and that was really to initially to get my feet wet in self-publishing and finding out what it was about before I worked my way up to doing um, Passion in Paris. And and so I did that, and I had purchased actually a 2-for-1 deal with Ex Libris Publishing, and this was back when they were totally yet on their own. They were later taken over by Authors Solutions, and but when they were still of themselves, um, they were a darn good publishing company. Um, they were easy to work with. Everything was very straightforward. And so when I had the opportunity to publish two for the price of one, I had the collection of poetry that I wanted to do, and I had my first collection of children's short stories that I wanted to do. So I took advantage of having to be able to do it 2-for-1. And I put out Feelings, and then about a month later, I put out my first children's collection of short stories, and it was called Young Minds. And uh, and so, as I say, with the experience after the two-part Passion in Paris, the way that had turned out, and I was not pleased at all. I was starting to run into a lot of problems, but by this time, Ex Libris had been taken over by Authors Solutions, as was iUniverse, Tafford. There was a number of self-publishing companies that Authors Solutions took over. And once that happened, the quality of what you were having prior just seemed to disappear. And I wasn't the only author that felt that way. I had read different articles and different comments from different authors all over the place that were finding the very same type of problems with the different self-publishing companies that they were with, not just Ex Libris, but different ones. Um, and they were all finding the same kind of problems that I was experiencing. And so, like that's the world. I mean, these big conglomerates, they step in and they just take over whatever they want, and it oftentimes it's not for the better. And I don't know, maybe there might be some that would agree that it was better for them, but I can only speak from my own experience, and for me, it just was not a good experience. So this was, I mean, I'm not one to be put down and backed off and not carry through what I originally set out to do. And so this was when I went with Create Space when they were still in production and redid everything that I had originally done with Ex Libris. Put it out with same material plus additional new materials, and put it out under new titles. And that worked out fine for me. And then, of course, Create Space, I think it's about 2 years now, ago that they decided that they were not going to stay in production any longer, and so they went out of business. But they're a part of Amazon. They were the publishing company for Amazon. But everything that was with CreateSpace was sent to Amazon, like to your author page and to your, like, everything that you have on Amazon. It didn't change, all your listing of books and everything, but where your books from CreateSpace where was originally, that is now on Amazon, and the business for it is all done through Amazon. And I miss CreateSpace, and I talked to a couple of different authors that said the same thing. You know, that they worked with CreateSpace, were very, very happy with the finished products, and the distribution. You know, it was good. It was sad to see them go, and I really don't know the reasoning behind them going, because they certainly were reaping good amounts of money from the different roster of authors that they had. But anyway, I mean, they stopped producing, and so that left everybody obviously hunting for new publishing firms, and that's how I come to be with Talwell Talent out in Victoria, BC. That's my first Canadian self-publishing company that I've worked with. At the time when I first started researching publishers back in 2007, 2008, because I knew I was going to be, you know, getting ready to be moving to that point in time, um, I looked in Canada, but I couldn't find anybody. And I know Frisian Press has been around a very long time, but I don't recall finding them when I was researching companies, when I was getting ready to do my first publications. And so that's how I ended up being in the States with Ex Libris, because I couldn't find anything in Canada. Otherwise, I would have begun in Canada. I'm Canadian. I mean, that's, you know, you want to support your own country and become known in your own country. But for me, it kind of worked a different way, and I ended up working in publishing through an American company, and two American companies, until I finally um, came with Canadian Towel. And I mean, to be honest, I mean, if CreateSpace was still in production, I would have done The Perils of Autumn with CreateSpace, no doubt. But I'm not sorry that I did it with Telwell. There was a few problems, mostly I found in communications, but that seems to be normal. But the finished product, the quality is exceptional. It's exceptionally good. They also offered hardcover in books, and a lot of people that buy an author's work, um, they like to have that option of having the book in hardback. Not everybody's into paperback, and not everybody is into Kindle. I don't care what they say. Um, a lot of people still like to hold a book in their hands and turn the pages and read that way. I know myself, when I buy a book, I want a physical copy. I don't want an electronic form. I mean, I work at a computer and a keyboard, and I write the stories there, and I revise them there, and that's the last place that I want to read a book. And but that's my preference. I know a lot of people, you know, they're very much into technology, and they like to download books onto their computers or their iPads or their phones or whatever they want, wherever they want to put them. And it's, you know, it's portable, and but there again, so is a physical book. But it, to each their own. But anyway, so I ended up doing The Perils of Autumn with Telwell Publishing. And as I was going through the story, I decided, like, there was more that I wanted to say. I mean, where the book ends, it could very well end there. But there was a little bit more that I wanted to say, and in order to do it, it would have turned Perils into another grand scale novel, and I didn't want to do that. So I decided I would do a follow-up, and I mentioned that in the end of The Perils of Autumn, that it is going to be followed up with Return to Autumn. And I'm busy now writing that. I'm into about the 13th chapter now. And these are first draft, of course, so I mean they could change um, as I go along and as I do revision. But I'm enjoying it. It's a great feeling to carry on this story. I love the story. It is, as I said in a different video, that I think it's my very favorite one that I've written so far. And not just because the fact that it received 5 stars again from readers' favorite books, who gave Willow's Walk a 5 star, but Perils of Autumn also is a 2019 um, International Book Awards finalist for romance, and that was really uplifting. I had entered the book in the contest quite some time ago. This is a big contest that's held in the States. There's entries come from all over the world into this competition, and to realize that my novel was one of 6 finalists in the romance genre of over 200,000 entries. That's not bad. And so if I come off like I'm tooting my own horn, then so be it. I don't care, but I'm proud of that. I'm proud of this novel, and to be able to continue it into a follow-up novel is really an added bonus. And so to be able to carry on the life at Landon Lawn's stables with Cyril Landon and Autumn Leaves Landon and all the different characters that are in the book in Perils of Autumn that now, of course, are in Return to Autumn, along with um, a few new ones that I've brought in, and I hope will, you know, give more flavor to the story and definitely carry it through to its end. So with that, I'm going to stop for now, and while I'm not totally blowing off the chair here, and and I think that I will maybe pretty soon start to put a couple of these laid back videos on. I have made notice on my media sites that I am going to be doing a series of impromptu videos on my own here. All of my videos in the past, my evenings with Rusty Blackwood and reflections and interludes and those types of things that I did, they were professionally done, and but there was no live audio or live video. There was audio, of course, and there was video through photographs, but not like this, like you and me, is one-on-one. And I wanted to do something like this. And so for readers that have read my work to sort of get to know me um, through, you know, hearing me talk to you and watching me, as opposed to, just professional headshots and photos and things like this, um, where, just reading words on a biography and things like that. It's okay, but I think you kind of get to maybe know the person behind the work a little bit more if you can actually hear them speak to you and watch them and facial expressions and stuff like that. And so with that, I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to wish you all a pleasant evening, and I hope you get to do whatever it is that you've been planning to do tonight, and that it all works out great. And I will say bye-bye for now, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.